Welcome to Beautifully Consumed, where I believe the best way to live a life with purpose is by loving and becoming your most true self. Because when you know yourself fully, you shine a light that gives others the permission to do the same. I'm your host, Leigh. I'm here to inspire and encourage you by sharing my journey, the stories of others, and all the tips, tricks, and life lessons about aligning with your highest self. You're in the right place if you're ready to be wildly dedicated to finding your purpose, becoming your most true self, and learning what it means to be beautifully consumed with living a life that is undeniably yours. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beautifully Consumed. I'm your host, Leigh. I'm so glad to have you here today. Before we get started, I have a very quick favor to ask you. If you're loving the podcast, would you take a few seconds to leave a rating, review, or comment wherever you're listening? That just helps the podcast to be pushed out to more people and ultimately allows me to have a greater impact on everyone who listens. So thank you so much for taking a few moments to do that. And just so you know, you can watch the video episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our episode. And today we are beautifully consumed with tough love. So I'm going to be the bad guy today, or I'm going to be your tough big sister and give you a few pieces of advice that you probably need to hear. You might not want to hear, but probably need to hear. Now, let me preface by saying that every single piece of advice that I wrote down, I've got 6 things to tell you today. Every single one of those 6 things is something that I also need to hear myself. So I'm probably going to go back and listen to this episode and be on the receiving end of my tough love that I'm about to give you. So don't feel bad if you're also feeling like unmotivated or feeling like you need a little kick or a shove to get going. Because quite frankly, I'm right there with you. All right, we are just hopping right in. So the first thing I need to tell you, if you are feeling unmotivated or disappointed in yourself or feeling like you said you wanted to do these things and you're not taking the time to do them or making yourself a priority, I totally get it. But do it anyway. Do it anyway. I don't care if you're tired or if you don't feel like getting up or if you don't feel like responding to that email or if you don't feel like doing your laundry, whatever it is, do it anyway. If it's something that you in the future wanted for yourself, or if you know it's something that's going to make you feel better, if you know that doing this one action is going to result in the person you want to become or result in an outcome that you know you want for yourself or result in something that you know deep down is going to make you feel better in the long run, I challenge you to just do it anyway. Everything we could ever want is on the other side of doing something that we don't want to do. Everything that we want, all good things are on the other side of doing something hard and tough. And having that mental toughness and deciding to do it anyway is going to get you so far in life. And it's really as simple as just like making the decision to do that thing. Because once you start doing it, it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad. It really didn't take me that long, or that wasn't that scary, or it wasn't that hard. It's literally just the act of deciding to do it. So if you don't want to wake up in the morning, or if your goal is to wake up in the morning and go to the gym before you go to work, but your alarm goes off and you're tired and you just have problems with hitting snooze, just do it anyway. Just get up, because literally once you're out of bed, it's not that bad. Trust me, as someone who used to be a complete night owl, I now get up at 5:05 every single morning. As soon as my phone alarm goes off, I hop right out of bed. I don't always want to do it, but I decide I'm just going to do it anyway. And literally once I'm up and I turn the light on, I'm awake and I'm like, oh, okay, I got a great night's sleep. So just do it anyway. And if you need something more tangible to go with this, I don't know if you listen to Mel Robbins, love Mel Robbins. If you don't listen to her, highly recommend. But she has kind of become famous for her 5-second rule. So, what this is quite literally counting down from five. When there's something that you know you should do or that you need to do and you don't want to do it or you don't have the motivation, you don't feel like doing it, literally just count down from five. So, going back to the example of getting out of bed, your alarm goes off, you're tired, it's dark, it's cold, your bed is nice and warm and cozy, your dogs are cuddling with you. Of course, we'd all rather stay in bed, right? But literally just count down from five. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. Same thing with if you're stuck sitting on the couch and you're scrolling on your phone and you're like, oh, I know I need to get up and go for a walk, or I know I need to get up and do a little bit of work that I said I was going to do. Count down from five. Try it. It's actually, it feels very childish, but it's like if you're competitive, it's a really fun game to play with yourself. So Mel Robbins, 5-second rule, highly recommend that. And one more thing about this is your brain is incredibly smart, but at the same time, your brain's a little dumb. Our brains are very gullible. They believe exactly what we tell them to believe. And our brain's job is one thing, and that is to keep us alive. And so in order to keep us alive, our brain makes decisions based on survival and safety. So your brain is going to choose the comfortable or the safe option every single time over the option that feels harder or your body and your brain feels resistance to. So you have to learn to train your brain over time to make those hard decisions, to get up early, to choose to do something when you don't want to. And ultimately, over time, then it'll become easier for your brain, and that will be the comfortable choice. That will be the safe choice. And therefore, your brain equates safety to survival. And all your brain is trying to do is keep you alive and allow you to survive. So there's this interesting quote. It says, your brain is trained to pick a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven in order to keep you safe, not successful. So let me repeat that one more time. Your brain is trained to pick a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven in order to keep you safe, not successful. So your brain is making decisions in order to keep you safe, in order to keep you alive. So you've got to train your brain by doing it anyway. Just count down from 5 and do it anyway. And over time, your brain will start to understand, oh, this is the safe option. This is the thing that feels easier. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you work it out, the stronger it's going to get and the more it's going to work for you. So our brains, as smart as they are, they're a little dumb. So if there's something you're feeling unmotivated to do, I challenge you to just suck it up and do it anyway. Okay, the next thing for you is we've got to talk about rest, because there's a few things I want to touch on with rest. But I know for me personally, right now in this season of my life, I'm really trying to prioritize getting real quality rest, relaxation. I'm trying to reset my nervous system. I'm trying to really eliminate stress and anxiety by focusing on getting good quality rest and allowing my mind and my body to reset itself at the end of every day. So there's a difference between getting good quality rest and what we think is rest. So if you're on TikTok, I'm going to use a little TikTok reference here, what the TikTok girlies like to call rotting. If you're not on TikTok, rotting is basically the equivalent to being a couch potato. Like you wake up in the morning, you don't take your pajamas off, maybe you don't even brush your teeth, you're sitting on the couch or you stay in bed, you order food, you are watching trashy TV, scrolling on your phone, like just nothing productive, absolutely nothing productive. Now, Don't let me tell you that there's not a time and a place for rotting, because there certainly is. I do it on occasion here and there, but that is only one small piece of the puzzle when it comes to rest. Real quality rest is not rotting on the couch or is not being a couch potato. That is can be useful and can be productive in like very small doses, but if you find yourself rotting on the couch as your only form of rest, you're not getting the rest that you actually need. So, real rest looks like, I'm going to give you a few examples here. Stop scrolling. Put your phone down and stop scrolling on social media. I am convinced there's going to be studies in 20, 30, 40 years from now about how horrible scrolling on social media is for our brains and our overall health in general. I was feeling a few years ago, I was feeling very depressed and anxious and just overwhelmed. And I realized that me scrolling on TikTok was sort of contributing to those feelings. And so I actually deleted TikTok off of my phone for a year and a half or 2 years. I didn't have the app on my phone at all. And when I tell you, within days, I started to feel better. Literally days after deleting TikTok off of my phone, I started to feel less anxious, feel less depressed. And I just like can't recommend enough, if you feel like lost in scrolling and you're feeling depressed and anxious and overwhelmed and all these things, try taking a social media detox. Just try it for one weekend, because that's when we scroll the most, probably, is over the weekends. So delete the social media apps from your phone for one weekend and tell me you don't feel better. Now, I have to be on social media for my job. So I have had to learn over the past couple of years how to be on social media with intention. And there is a difference between scrolling with intention and scrolling mindlessly. So if you are someone who finds yourself scrolling mindlessly, I would highly recommend doing a social media detox and stopping that as soon as you possibly can. Scrolling mindlessly is horrible for you. And I like to say that I don't do that anymore. I would say probably like 90% of the time, I'm pretty good at like scrolling intentionally instead of scrolling mindlessly. I've gotten really good at it. It's definitely a practice and something you have to work towards, which is so sad to say, but social media is just designed to be addictive. So don't fall trapped to that. But if you have fallen trapped to that, that's okay. That's what it's was designed to do, but you've got to recognize it and you've got to pull yourself out of it. So if you do find yourself scrolling mindlessly, let's work on stopping that. And the best way to do it is cold turkey. I hate to tell you that, but just delete the apps off your phone. You'll feel better. Now, when you are on social media, when you find yourself in a place of maybe you need to be there for your job or you genuinely enjoy being on social media, I encourage you to be on social media with intention. So, for example, if you enjoy connecting with your friends and your family and seeing what they're up to, maybe you need to clean out who you're following and only follow your friends and family. That way, when you get on, you're just seeing posts from friends and family, and don't like when you see ads come up on your feed or when you see suggested posts, you can just click, I don't want to see this. Another example is like getting on social media to learn. So here's an example of how I use social media. For example, I love cameras and photography, and sometimes I just want to learn about the settings on a particular camera that I have. I'll get on social media and kind of start searching for videos about this particular camera. That is a very useful way to use social media. Social media is a fantastic tool if we use it in the right way. But even with that, I still find myself scrolling video after video after video, when in reality, I probably could have watched like 3 to 5 videos on this particular camera and gotten enough information to close the app, pick up the camera and figure it out myself just by playing around and pressing buttons. But I do still find myself like just endlessly scrolling next video, next video, next video. I don't need to watch 50 videos about this camera. So even when you are scrolling with intention, it still can turn into that mindless type of scrolling. Now, I know it feels like I went off on a totally different tangent here about scrolling on social media, but all of that to say is if you find yourself doing that during your downtime, during the time where you're supposed to be resting, you're not actually resting. You're not allowing your brain and your nervous system to get real rest when you are constantly stimulating yourself with that scrolling, especially if that scrolling is mindless scrolling. So that's it. That's all I'll say about social media. Maybe I'll do a whole nother episode on social media because I feel like we could all benefit from like talking about a social media detox. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments below because I'd be happy to do an episode on a social media detox. Real quick to wrap up this point about getting real quality rest, you need to set yourself up with a good morning and bedtime routine. I know it's so easy when we're feeling like, oh, I'm resting, I'm going to sleep in, and that means I can stay up a little later because I can sleep in and this and that. Try to stick to a routine. Try your best to go to bed and wake up roughly around the same time every day. And yes, that includes weekends too, because your sleep schedule and your sleep pattern will be so much more beneficial and you'll get such better quality sleep when you keep it consistent as opposed to going to bed at 12:30 one night and then 8:30 the next night and then 10 o'clock the next night. And then you're sleeping in till 10 one day and 9 another day and getting up at 6:30 the next day. That does no good for your sleep schedule. So try to keep your sleep and your routines around sleep. That includes going to sleep and waking up from sleep. Try to keep those routines as consistent as you possibly can. And the last thing I will say about getting good quality rest is if you are a overachiever or a perfectionist, this message is for you. And again, I'm talking to myself here. I struggle with getting rest and feeling like I am being lazy or unproductive. So a lot of times when I'm quote unquote resting, my mind is racing because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything, but I have this whole list of things I feel like I should be doing, or maybe I should be using this time to research this topic or work on this or do this or think about my to-do list. No, sometimes you need to do absolutely nothing. And that includes your mental capacity. You need to just be still, meditate, enjoy the silence, go for a walk without any distractions. Because when you allow your brain and your soul and your body to be in that state of peace and relaxation and rest, it is so good for you. It will help you in the long run to be more productive. So if you're someone who struggles with feeling like you are being lazy or unproductive while you are resting, let me assure you that if you are getting good quality rest, that is just as productive as all the other things on your to-do list. So let's stop rotting and start getting real rest. All right, piece of tough love number 3. You are your choices. The choices you make every single day add up to the choices that you make throughout your week. The choices you make throughout your week add up to the choices you make throughout your month. The choices you make throughout your month add up to the choices you've made for your year. And the choices you make through your years end up being the way that your life is and the way your life goes. So everything you do has an impact, good or bad. There's the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I don't know if you've read it, but would definitely recommend it. And one of the main things in that book is talking about getting 1% better every day. Now, 1% doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you get 1% today, tomorrow, the next day, you're getting 1% better day over day. That adds up significantly over the course of a year, therefore, over the course of your life. So if you can just focus on being better today than you were yesterday, just getting a little bit better today or making the right choice right now. It doesn't have to be this like huge monumental goal and you have to make this massive change right now. Like I'm deciding to be a different person and I'm changing everything about my life. Just make small changes every day. Like if you have the choice between eating like after dinner, you want a little treat. If you have the choice between eating a piece of cake and having some like chocolate covered bananas, clearly there's a better choice. That is not like a huge monumental change. That is not going to make you lose 20 pounds overnight. But making small choices like that day after day after day are really going to have a massive impact on your long-term goals and your long-term happiness, your long-term success. The same goes for the opposite way. Like if you continue to make poor choices that you know are not good for you, let's say like drinking, for example. I know a lot of people like the non-alcohol or alcohol-free movement is sweeping like pop culture. There's so many people cutting back or giving up on alcohol. And I think by now we all know that alcohol is bad for us. And if you're someone who drinks one glass of wine every night, you're like, oh, it's really not that big of a deal. You know, it's just one glass of wine or two glasses of wine. Over time, that is going to add up on your health in probably a negative way. And if you don't feel that way about alcohol, that's fine. Look at something else. Like, let's say, go back to the example of sleeping and getting good quality sleep. If you continually choose to not get a good 8 hours of sleep every night, sleep is one of the most important things you can do for your health. If you're neglecting that day after day after day, it's not a big deal if it's a few days or a few weeks, but that so easily turns into a few months and then a few years. And then that just turns into your lifestyle and how you live your life. These habits that we do on a daily basis, no matter how big or small, can have a compounding effect on our life. So please, I encourage you to focus on your daily habits and your daily choices. If you have the option to make a choice for the better, just make that better choice today and make that better choice tomorrow and make that better choice the next day. You don't have to have this big goal of like, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps every single day for the next 365 days. Just make your goal today to walk 10,000 steps and then make your goal tomorrow to walk 10,000 steps. So you can see how these small little changes that we make and decide on a daily basis ultimately add up and really determine how our life goes. So just tell yourself that the next time you are faced with a decision, you are your choices. The next piece of advice is for, again, all of my overachievers, perfectionists, overthinkers. Just start. It's that simple. Just start. If there's something you want to do, just start. You don't have to have it all figured out. Stop overanalyzing. Stop overthinking. You're probably doing too much research. You're probably taking too much time thinking about it when you could actually just be taking action and doing it. Trust me, I struggle with this. I really do. I'm a perfectionist. I'm a procrastinator. I feel like I have to do everything to the best of my ability. Sometimes I feel like I have to have it all figured out before I can make the first step. But I am someone who has ran my own business for almost 6 years now. And if I waited until I had it all figured out, I still wouldn't have started my business because almost 6 years in, I still don't have everything figured out, but I've learned a heck of a lot by just getting started and jumping in feet first and trying and failing and figuring out things as I go. That is the best way to learn anything, is to jump in and try it and just start and figure it out along the way, because the faster you fail, the quicker you're going to get to where you want to be. Failure is a non negotiable if you want to be successful. Failure is a non negotiable if you want to achieve all of your wildest goals and dreams, no matter how big or small. You have to fail in order to be successful, because failing teaches you so many valuable lessons. And without those valuable lessons, you're not going to have the tools in your toolbox to understand and know where it is you need to go and how you need to get there. So my best piece of advice for you, if there's anything you want to do, if there's anything on your heart that you have been thinking about or considering, please just start, because I promise you, you are going to regret not starting when you had the initial idea to start. You've got to just start, just do the thing. Circling back, just do it anyway. Do the 5-second rule, count down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just do it. Just start. I promise you, as someone who has built a successful business, that is my best piece of advice, is just to start. All right, these are all kind of related. Again, I'm talking to myself, so I guess like this is an overarching theme of things that are things that I'm dealing with and struggling with or have struggled with in the past. But my next piece of advice, and I'm going to curse, sorry for the profanity, but it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't effing matter. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. People don't care what you're doing. People don't care how you look. People don't care if you mess up. Who cares? It's your life. You literally get one life to live. Why would you live it for anybody else but you? I want to encourage you, if you are wanting something for your life or yourself and you're afraid to pursue it, or if you're worried what other people might think, or if you're just worried that you might fail and you're worried to disappoint yourself, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Please eliminate all those thoughts from your head. Stop overthinking. Stop overanalyzing. Who cares if you try something new and you're not good at it, or if you fail? Who cares? It literally does not matter. I will use the example of going to the gym, because this is a very, very common one. So many people have aspirations of going to the gym to get in shape, to lose weight, to be stronger, to be healthier. But if you've never been to the gym before, it can definitely be an intimidating place to go. There's lots of people there that are in shape, have been working out for years, that know what they're doing. There's lots of machines everywhere. It's overwhelming. I get that. As someone who has been lifting weights and going to the gym since I was like 14 years old, I feel qualified to let you know that no one in the gym cares that you're there. Literally no one. Everyone in that gym is going for themselves. Every single person. No one is paying attention to what you're wearing. No one is paying attention to your form. No one cares what you're doing. No one even notices that you're there. We all go to the gym to look better for ourselves, to work on our goals. We're looking at ourselves in the mirror. Like, no one's looking at you. No one cares that you're there. Don't let that stop you. That goes for anything it is in your life that you're wanting to do. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to make other people happy. You don't have to worry about what other people think of you. Don't worry about what other people say behind your back, because people will talk about you behind your back. That is just life. That's human nature. But that is an insecurity of theirs that they are projecting onto you. if people think you're weird, if people think you're silly, if people think you're crazy, who cares about their opinion? I certainly don't care what people think about me. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, I know you're smart enough and I know you're a good person to know that obviously we can't make decisions that are going to intentionally harm other people or like cause damage to people or things around us. You're smart enough to know that's not what I'm talking about. But you have to hear me when I say, like, you only get one life. You need to live your life for you. Don't make your decisions to make other people happy. Don't make your decisions based on what you think other people think you should be doing. Who cares? Who cares? Do what makes you happy and don't worry about anything else. Life is way too short to not pursue the things that make you feel good. So take up space, embarrass yourself, be cringe, go fail, try something new, but just release all of those feelings of worrying about how you'll be perceived, what other people are going to think of you, and what you're going to think of yourself. Like, stop worrying about all of that because it doesn't matter. Okay, and the last piece of tough love I've got for you is to just go through it. The only way to get to the other side or to work through tough emotions or feelings or problems is to go through it. Sometimes life is hard. Actually, life is hard a lot of times. You're going to be faced with things in life that just flat out suck, that don't feel good, things that you don't want to do, but you have to do. Like, life really just sucks sometimes, but the only way to get to the other side is to go through it. Like I said, do it anyway. Count down from 5 and just start. Just do it. And that goes for dealing with like tough emotional situations as well. I encourage you to go through it. Go through your emotions. Allow yourself to feel the things that you need to feel. When something happens in your life that is sad or frustrating or whatever it is, like if there's something difficult that you're dealing with, I encourage you to actually deal with it. Do not push it down or push it to the side and say, I'll be fine. Whatever, that's not going to bother me. The best thing you can do is to fall down. If you get knocked down by life, allow yourself to be down for a little bit. Allow yourself to be down, cry it out, feel your feelings. As long as you get back up, that's all that matters. But stay down as long as you need to stay down. If you get knocked down and you get right back up right away without processing what you're feeling or what's happened, it's not going to be good for you in the long run. Trust me, I've done it. I've been through some things that I didn't take the time to process, and it ended up coming out way worse than it would have if I had just taken the time to deal with it in the moment when I was going through it instead of suppressing and allowing it to come up later. Again, I'm not perfect. I can't say I'm like had all of these epiphanies and have figured out all of my emotional dealings and stuff, but I can tell you for certain that if you don't deal with things now, you're going to have to deal with them later 10 times more. So go through it. Allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. Allow yourself to get through the hard things, because the only way to get to the other side is to go through it. Okay, so to recap, my 6 pieces of tough love for you that I also need to hear myself. Do it anyway, even when you don't feel like it, just do it anyway. Let's start prioritizing real rest, because real rest is actually productive. So stop rotting on the couch and start getting real quality rest. You are your choices. The choices you make every day add up to the choices that make up your life and who you are and how your life is. Just try to focus on getting 1% better every day. Make those small choices on a day-to-day basis, and it will add up over time. So you are your choices. Just start. Stop overanalyzing. Stop overthinking. If there's something you want to do, just start now, and you'll figure the rest out as you go. It doesn't matter. Release all of your fears and worries and doubts about what other people are going to think of you, about what you feel like you should be doing, because it doesn't matter. You get one life and you've got to live it for you. And lastly, go through it. The only way out is through. You've got to deal with your emotions. Sometimes you have to do hard things, but the only way out is through. So allow yourself to go through it, however that looks like for you. Because if you don't go through it now, you're going to have to go through it later 10 times worse. Okay. I hope it wasn't too hard on you. I'll go back to being sweet and nice next week. But let me know what you thought about these pieces of tough love. I would love to hear what you got out of this episode. So leave a comment below on Spotify or YouTube and let me know what your favorite piece of tough love was from this episode. Or if you have a piece of tough love that you love dishing out yourself, let me know that too in the comments. But you can have the most beautiful, most amazing life that you want. You just have to do these hard things sometimes. And I'm all for loving yourself and being kind and being gentle, but sometimes you just need a little nudge. So hopefully I was able to give that to you today. Thanks so much for listening today, y'all. And don't forget, you are beautiful, you are loved, you're amazing, and you have all of the power to live a life that is undeniably yours. So get out there and live it. All right, I will see you next week. Bye.